Programming for Downstream, made possible by Visit Lex, Lawrenceburg, Anderson County Tourism, Bardstown, Kentucky Tourism, Georgetown, Scott County Tourism, Visit Frankfort, and Four Roses Bourbon. Thank you for your support.
Did you know Kentucky has more navigable miles of water than any other state in the U.S. except Alaska?
Is Alaska still a state?
Includes 90,000 miles of streams and dozens of rivers.
It's also quite famous for some other liquids, those which flow from a barrel, that being beers, bourbons, and wine.
Many of the world's best-known distilleries can be found right here in the Bluegrass state, and interestingly enough, pretty darn close to many of our lakes, rivers, and streams.
We're here to take you on an expedition of the secrets and histories of our intricate waterways while visiting Kentucky's distilleries, breweries, and wineries.
I'm Carrie.
And I'm Kyle. And we're two Kentuckians who are pretty proud of our state and want to share a sip of what the Commonwealth has to offer.
It's good to see everybody. It's been, lonely, locked up all these months. Seems like a year. But how you guys doing?
I'm good, man. Hey, sorry, we got to figure out how to navigate Zoom, right? That's been probably the most interesting thing of this. Social distancing has been one of my great word inventions throughout this whole thing. It's very easy to social distance while fishing on the creek. I fish with a 7-foot rod, so it's really easy. To make sure that I'm keeping my proper distance from everybody else. So you got it with you the whole time. So, but that's what I've been up to.
I've been doing a lot of front porch sitting, just hanging out, doing some reading, working in my gardens in the orchard, and working on some home brews myself.
Nice.
Very nice. Yeah, out there it's pretty easy to distance, isn't it? I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere.
Hey, if I had a front porch look like that, I'd be sitting on it too. That's an awesome view you got there.
I've been hanging out. I learned about this new thing called the infinity bottle. Actually, I don't know if it's new or not. It's new to me because I learned about it. But it's basically this whole concept where you take, your decanter, pouring the last pour of each bottle in this together. Now, you wouldn't want to, it can be any spirit. You could do this with rum, with gin, with tequila, Obviously in Kentucky, I decided to do a bourbon bottle. So you get like your bottle, when you get down to the end of it here, and then you pour it in here, and you do that with each one of them. So it kind of has this crazy concoction of flavors that is infinity.
Kyle, you're not mixing bourbon, vodka, tequila, rum, scotch all in there together, are you?
I started that bottle, and it's for you, DH. I've saved it every year. I tasted it. You're going to love it. I think it's something that may be a flavor that you can put in one of your concoctions there.
Okay, well, that'll be interesting.
I don't know what you'll call it, but...
Well, Kyle, it sounds like you've been trapped at home for too long. I think you need to get out. Why don't we do a show?
A show?
Yeah.
A Downstream show?
I hear that there's a distillery in Bourbon County that's making some hand sanitizer, Kyle. You could check that out.
Can you drink it?
No, I wouldn't.
I do know a pretty sweet spot in Bourbon County. It's got an awesome view, cool little covered bridge, nice little creek with some cool access. We can kind of do some fishing there.
Nice. And Kyle, I've really been missing my friends at the Bluegrass Whitewater Association. They usually do a spring clinic in June, but we checked it out a couple years ago, and I know we have some great footage.
Yeah, I do seem to remember something about rapids and such down in eastern Kentucky.
I'm just saying, we've been cooped up. We need some fresh air. We need some sunshine. I can't think of anything better than to do a show right now.
Yeah, and Kyle, if you behave yourself, I've got some homemade apple wine that needs bottled. You could come out and help me, and I might give you a sip.
All right. Apple wine, some fishing, some hand sanitizer. It sounds like a winner, folks.
I can get behind it.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's go do a show. I'm up. I'm game. Let's do it.
But Kyle, before you go, I got to know one thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Do you have on pants?
Don't answer that.
Required? Is that required? I'm going to put some pants on, and I'll see you guys out on the 6 feet away somewhere.
Let's go.
Take it easy.
Andrew!
Sorry, what'd you say?
Andrew! I'm at Hartfield and Company, finally.
Yeah.
You know, if we're gonna do shots, I can't do it with a mask on. Are we safely 6 feet apart?
6 feet, man.
All right, good. Well, I can breathe. Well, we found Hartfield and Company here in Paris. Andrew, it is good to see you, my friend,
Thanks, man.
and learn a little bit about what all you guys have been doing. We're in Bourbon County.
We are. That was kind of the idea, really, more than anything. We wanted to bring bourbon back to Bourbon County. So we started in 2014. It had been 95 years since anyone had made bourbon in Bourbon County, and we're very careful about this part legally. We work with smaller barrels mostly, again, just to be able to help tailor our distillation process to be able to work with the influence that small barrels can have.
And what is it? How does that make a difference? Because that's something we haven't talked about.
There's a drastic difference between the surface area inside the barrel versus the liquid that goes in.
Okay.
So there's a whole lot more influence from the wood per gallon than a big 53-gallon barrel. Now combine that with our difference in starting point for the distillation. This white whiskey is already smooth and has tons of character and body to it. So what we're putting into these barrels already tastes great. We're not expecting the barrel to fix the flaws of a much higher proof distillation. So naturally it can work quicker.
All right, so we're rolling along here. We've got our special craft 5-gallon barrels here, cranking out good stuff. People are coming in, they're visiting, they're trying, they're tasting, they're buying. Next thing you know, COVID-19.
Right. To be totally honest, we go from a meeting trying to figure out how we're going to make it through to my wife having an idea about doing some bourbon-scented hand sanitizer.
Bourbon-scented hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
So if you want to smell, this is...
It's like a tiny shot of healthiness.
Just don't drink it.
Yeah, it's tempting. It does.
In the span of about a week, learned how to make hand sanitizer, started making hand sanitizer, and started filling bottles.
We've got to see how this works. I mean, all right, let's go find some more about that. Cool. That's bourbon scented. Amazing. All right, so we learned a little bit of the history of Hartfield and Company and why they're here, where they came from, and what they normally are making. Now we're going to find out about some special stuff they're making from Jeremy here, and it's not potable. Jeremy, tell me what's going on behind us over here.
Yeah, so we've been making a ton of hand sanitizer over the last couple months since March. It's a little bit of a detour for us, but it makes sense because we put alcohol in it.
Does have alcohol. You all make some alcohol, and you had some stuff you needed to do something with, right?
You know, ethanol or ethyl alcohol is one of the main ingredients in hand sanitizer. That's what comes off of the still before we put it into a barrel. And obviously the mash bill is a little bit different for bourbon or some of the other beverages we make, but it's essentially the same stuff. Alcohol kills germs and the coronavirus. So we're actually standing in what used to be our craft cocktail bar. So we converted this whole space into a hand sanitizer factory. And so, yeah, that big tank you're seeing back there, that's a 1,500-gallon tank. It's just easier for us to make the sanitizer and put it up there that feeds the bottling machines, bottling, labeling, and then we box it and then out the door.
Now, do you all provide anything locally to any local businesses or hospitals or groups or donations and nonprofits, anything like that you want to talk about?
Absolutely. I grew up here in Bourbon County. Andrew and I, been a part of this community our whole lives, and so that's been one of the best parts of this is being able to give back to the community. And so we've been donating to nursing homes and hospitals and businesses around for sure. And so we also have a lot of people from the community that support us and have come to, just buy a bottle of sanitizer.
Now, I was talking about the bourbon. Are you talking about sanitizer donations?
Free bourbon. Just come on down. Free bourbon with every bottle of sanitizer you purchase. Come on.
Well, man, Jeremy, this is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
it's so cool to see a success story where you've taken literally, lemons and made lemonade, bourbon and made hand sanitizer.
Our plan is just to continue to sell sanitizer and provide, fill in for the demand that's been created by the coronavirus.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That, people, is the American dream right here in Kentucky on Downstream. This has been fun.
Yeah, man. Good talking.
Be good.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
Absolutely.
What's up, everybody? DH from Country Boy Brewing here in Bourbon County today. We're at the Colville Covered Bridge that spans across Hinkston Creek on this absolutely phenomenal Kentucky day. This is the last covered bridge that's in Bourbon County, one of the last few remaining in the state. And when you take a walk through it, you just feel like you're being transported through time. We've been staying at home, we've been social distancing, we've been keeping safe. Today, we're gonna practice some solo fishing. Come join me. Well, this is my first time fishing this creek, but anytime I'm creek fishing, what I like to look for, obviously just like most types of fishing, the fish are gonna hang around some types of structure. Now the thing about the creek is the structure, unlike some of your bigger lakes we have here in Kentucky, the structure is always changing, with different flow rates and different kinds of debris coming in the water, whether it be trees or brush piles and things like that. So number one tip I would say is find some structure, like we've got some nice down trees over here. I think just about any type of fishing, whether you're ocean fishing or creek fishing or lake fishing or farm pond fishing, morning I think is always the best time to fish. So, but also that's the most beautiful time to be on the creek is watch the sun come up, kind of see the world wake up around you, maybe get a little nice mist on top of the water. Morning on the creek is always the best in my opinion. Both my grandfathers were big fishermen, and I think my love of fishing comes from, it's in my blood. I grew up in northern Scott County, north of Sadieville on the Eagle Creek. So I was always playing in the creek, always was in the creek, always was fishing in the creek, swimming in the creek. Something anybody can do. You don't have to have a lot of expensive fishing gear or, years of experience. Anybody can grab a pole and get on the water. And to me, it's just a way to reconnect with who I am and in nature. Yeah. If I had to pick one bait that I was gonna fish with the rest of my life, I gotta just pare it all down to one in the tackle box. The bait that I would use is a red on red rooster tail. Any type of water, any situation, just about any type of fish. Simple, cheap, easy, cast, retrieve, little red rooster tail. Available at all your local fine fishing stores and establishments all across America. I bet I've spent $10,000 on rooster tails in my life. Most of them now reside on the tops of trees, bottoms of rock banks, and stumps. The age-old thing, artificial baits, you're much more active. You're increasing your chance of catching more fish. You're covering more territory. You're going to the fish, not letting the fish come to you as much. And I think you can just catch bigger fish at the end of the day. Fish the creek, there are some challenges. There is a lot of structure. You do have the canopy of trees over top of you. You got to, you use those side casts and all that kind of stuff. You can't get skunked on the creek pretty easy. Have many a day we've gone out and not done any good, but had a bunch of days we've done excellent as well. So, all right, there's something over there. He's not taking this. So we're going to throw the tried and true rooster tail and see if we can get him. Yeah, Fish and Wildlife has regulations on like what they recommend of the fish that you can harvest, what you can and can't eat out of the creek. To me, I've always been a catch and release guy. If I'm farm pond fishing or we're somewhere catching bluegill or catfish, something like that, I have a nice farm pond. I love to have a good fish fry. But when I'm in the creek, most of the time obviously I'm in a kayak, so it's hard to keep anything, but I'm exclusively just catch and release. All type of little fry and minnows and stuff over here, which usually Little fish means there's a big fish around. Howdy doody, little guy. It might be a state record. What I was telling you earlier stands true. You can catch anything on a red rooster tail in the creek. We've got a nice little sunfish here, and when I say little, I mean little. I promise you all I can catch bigger fish, but this is what we got to work with today. What do you say, guy? Beautiful color, though. Awesome, it's like an ocean fish. Go send your granddaddy back up here. Hey, we caught one. It's not really about catching the big quantity of fish. It's not really about, catching the biggest fish. Days like today are about getting out, enjoying nature, forgetting about everything, meditating a little bit, self-reflection, thinking about yourself, losing your mind in fishing, and just appreciating the resources that we have in Kentucky. So remember that if you're out fishing and you don't have the best day, that's just a small part of it.
Spring, I really missed my friends from the Bluegrass Whitewater Association, especially seeing everyone at the Spring Beginners Clinic on the Russell Fork River. I've attended the annual event, which has been going on for more than 40 years, several times, and I've always come away with new friends and improved my kayaking skills. At the clinic, beginners and even not so new paddlers like me are paired with expert whitewater kayakers who volunteered to spend their weekend helping others hone their skills and build their confidence.
Well, the Bluegrass Whitewater Association began in 1976 in Lexington, Kentucky, and almost immediately they began working with new paddlers and beginners and started. So this is probably the 40th year for the BWA, Bluegrass Whitewater Association Spring Clinic, and this year it's being held at the Russell Fork River in the Breaks Interstate Park.
Well, what makes this river so special? Why do you do it here?
This river is special because it's the crown jewel for Kentucky. It's a world-class resource. In the fall, brings paddlers from all over the globe. The Beginners Clinic is primarily, what we have here is primarily for beginners. And there's a number of people who have never been in a kayak in their life that just started today. Yes, really. You can come out here with absolutely no skill, just a determination to learn, and you'll learn from a wet exit to how you get out of the boat the very first time to maybe ferrying and catching an eddy.
Awesome.
By the end of the day or the end of the weekend.
I always get really nervous running whitewater. There's just something so humbling about being in a tiny boat, in a giant ancient gorge with all that fast-moving water that just puts everything into perspective. Taking on the Russell Gorges Class 3 and Class 4 whitewater is thrilling and terrifying each and every time. This year, my goal was to stay in my boat and avoid a bumpy wet exit in ping pong. Having spent the weekend adjusting some techniques based on input from my teachers, I was really confident that I could nail it. The encouragement of the other boaters on the water and the cheers when I succeeded made it even more special. It was definitely a run to remember.
Get it, Carrie.
So when did you start boating?
Last year, one of my friends got a kayak and my wife fell in love with it. We bought her a kayak in like a week. So we got these in February, started going to roll clinic, got my roll down and used it for the first time at this clinic that they got up here this weekend.
Awesome.
So
you got live action roll your first whitewater?
Yeah, actually, I turned over 3 times yesterday, rolled all 3 times. I got back up, I never swam.
So I saw you come through Meat Grinder today, which is our Class 4 Rapid. This is your second day on Whitewater. First run through Meat Grinder. What was that like coming into that rapid?
That was insane. So they're like, just put your front end on that, keep your knees up, all this stuff. And then I go over, I hit my line pretty good. And then they're like, take a big power stroke through the bottom of it to get you out of it. And I did, and my left hand slipped off my paddle.
Oh,
so
no.
That's when I turned left up there. My line was actually supposed to be a little bit further right on that bottom end. So I saved it coming down at that last piece where that rock is at the side. I was actually supposed to be on the other side of that rock, but since I lost the paddle, then I ended up over there. You can't straighten it back up, keep it from going left if you're not holding it on the left. So yeah, so it looked like something I want to do. I'm glad I did.
Awesome.
After an exhilarating day on the water, relaxing around a campfire, sharing a meal, and some laughs with new friends and old was just the perfect way to end a weekend. The paddling community is truly just one big, crazy family that welcomes anyone and everyone who wants to join.
Well, we have a lot going on here tonight. I see tents everywhere. There's food on the smoker. Tell me about what else goes into the weekend besides just finding people to teach people to paddle.
It's not just about teaching people to paddle, it is about introducing them to a lifestyle, because kayaking really is a lifestyle, especially coming from Kentucky where there aren't that many whitewater runs. We have to travel a lot, so you kind of travel together and you develop a culture. So the dance parties, the talent show is hilarious because of the spectacular lack of talent involved in it. People just do all kinds of crazy stuff to get the prizes. I love the people. It's just an amazing group of people from different backgrounds, and there's something kind of unique, I think, about people who are drawn to the sport. So you just get just amazing people.
So what would you say to people out there who might be a little nervous about coming out to the clinic? I mean, it's a hard sport to get into. There's a lot of equipment.
It is, but this is the absolute best way to get into it because about half of our students didn't have any equipment and is borrowed.
Oh.
The members all have extra, and so everybody puts up a lot of gear for students to borrow. As far as being nervous about the sport, that makes a lot of sense. It's a new thing. It is kind of an extreme sport.
A little bit of nerve seems like it might be a good thing when you're dealing with big whitewater like this.
Yeah, I think the personal challenge of it is really rewarding. The people are really rewarding. So even if you don't take to it really quickly, we're going to take care of you, and you're going to have a good time, and just stick with it, and it's worthwhile.
Well, I can say that for sure. This is my second beginner's clinic, and I'm still learning.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot to learn. You'll be learning. 10 years from now, there's new things to learn.
Awesome.
So.
I can't wait until next spring to see everyone and just spend a great weekend in one of the most beautiful places in Kentucky paddling.
Gary! Gary!
Hey, Kyle.
I found it.
Welcome to my little paradise in Elliott County.
Wow, this is fantastic out here.
I always said I wanted a place you had to get lost to find.
Well, as you can see, I'm being socially responsible, but this is very hot. Is it okay? Are we safe?
I think you're all right, Kyle.
Thanks. Fantastic. Well, I was told you had something for me to sample out here as far as a beverage. Is that true?
I do. We're getting ready to bottle some of my homemade apple wine. Would you like to help and try some?
I'm down. Let's do it.
Well, Kyle, here you go. This is a batch of our homemade apple wine. We call it Appalachia.
Fantastic. Appalachia. I like that. This is great. Well, if you could help me load that in the car, I'll be on my way.
Well, not so fast, Kyle. I thought maybe I could pour you a nice cool glass after you help me bottle it.
All right. Is there some science involved in this?
There is a little bit of science.
All right, I'm down for some science.
Well, we started this batch last fall.
How many apples do you get on your trees, like in a season?
I'd say we have 5 mature apple trees, so usually we get about 5 or 6 bushels.
So you can do 2 bushels for one of these?
Well, 1 bushel per
1 bushel.
5 gallons.
Then what? You just throw them in this thing, or you got to put them in a blender? I mean, how does that? What's the process?
Well,
there?
first you have to cut out the cores of the apples. So you cut out the core and the seeds. And apples have a lot of natural yeast if you leave the peels on. So typically you just cut them into large chunks and put them in a mesh bag. And you mix 5 gallons of water with 10 pounds of sugar and your 40 pounds of apples. And you let that kind of bubble and ferment for about a week. And then you strain out all that leftover fruit and put it in here. We put the 5 gallons of water in, and we will cover it with plastic and put the lid on and just kind of let that bubble and ferment for about a week.
So you don't cook it, you just stick it all in there and let it sit?
Put it all in there together,
All right.
just the raw fruit and the sugar, and mix it up. After about a month, we will switch the carboys. You know, you put it into another one. It's called racking the wine. When you move it from one to the other, and you leave some of that sediment on the bottom.
Okay.
And then we do that at month 1, month 3, month 6, and then usually around month 9, I think it's ready to go to bottle.
Well, let's see what this bottling is all about. If you need my help, I'm happy to direct.
Sure.
You know, and watch you do it.
First and most important step is sanitizing all of your equipment, including sanitizing your bottles and your workplace, as well as your hands. Next, pull off the airlock here, and the airlock is what makes sure we end up with wine instead of vinegar, because it keeps the air out. So we're gonna go ahead and take that out. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna test the alcohol content of our apple wine with this fancy tool called a hydrometer. And it goes into the wine, and it will tell us kind of what our alcohol content is. All right, and then next what we're gonna do is use this fancy tool to get the wine flowing out of the bottle and into our individual bottles, right?
Gary, don't spill it.
Whoop. There you go, Kyle.
Oh, that's fantastic. It smells good too.
I'll give you credit for helping to make it.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, here, I'll get you another bottle ready, Kyle. I told you I was gonna put you to work.
Hey, this is great. This is really a pretty, a very pretty wine.
It turned out really nice. I thought you could use a break and we might sample some.
Oh, absolutely. It smells good. It's got some legs to it. Look at that.
Yeah.
This is legit. And it's clear.
It looks really nice.
It does. Wow.
See if it tastes as good.
Good for you. Let's try this out. And until next time,
we'll see you downstream.